Welcome to the unofficial BSHL Senior Hockey League podcast. I'm your host, Corey, joined by my co-host, Corey.
That's me.
We have a big episode today. We got a really good guest, the new VP of the BSHL Senior Hockey League, Connor Smith.
Well deserved. I love Connor, one of my best friends now. Just wish him all the best in that role.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty happy for him. And it's an interesting interview. It was a good time. Anytime we get together with Connor, we talk too much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just goes on, and I'm like, oh, man, that went too long. But I'm not going to edit too much of it because I just want it to be what it was.
The thing is, if the cameras kept rolling or the audio kept recording, the people would be so confused because it goes from hockey to wrestling to sumo wrestling to jiu-jitsu to karate, and it just goes all over the place. It just goes
back to Japanese wrestling. Yeah, we've got a lot of weird interests that meet, especially you and Connor.
Yeah, we clicked a lot on sports.
Yeah, absolutely. How you been, Corey? You been good?
Yeah, got this funny story.
I'm ready.
So this beautiful girl comes up to me, and I'm thinking things are going up, Corey. Things are starting to look good. She comes up to me and she goes, you sound better on the podcast than you look in real life.
Well, what do you say to that?
I've always been told I have the perfect face for radio.
And it is true, buddy. I can tell you as somebody that every episode has to look at you, you sound better than you look, brother.
There you go. It is what it is.
Oh, man. That's good. I'm glad somebody fucked with you, I suppose. That makes me happy. Gives me time off, so I don't have to do it all the time.
There you go.
Work's been good. Work's been busy.
Perfect. Love it. Been working a lot. Been working with some aches and pains, and you know what that means? It means I've been working.
It means you're getting old, bitch.
Well, I'm already old.
We haven't talked much since the last episode. We talk every day on text message and stuff, but to actually sit down and have a chat or get together, we haven't really had time. I had a pretty busy week. It was I work at hospice. It was our annual gala this past week. Go? Man, let me tell you, I've rarely been so stressed. It was busy.
Yeah.
Just a lot of pressure to make sure everything goes well, but it went flawless. And yeah, man, it was a long day. It was like a 14-hour day or something. Like, it was just, it was a string of 12 to 14-hour days, which at my age you start to feel. You know how that is.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, it went well. Having fun. Recorded the first episode of the hospice podcast last week.
Oh.
Going to be editing that this week at work, and having fun. Life's good. Also, over the weekend, went and saw my first senior baseball game of the year, which was just a blast. Saw the Ironmen take on the Moncton Mets. So a few BSHL guys. Stone plays for the Mets. He also plays for the coal miners. And then Andrew Lontang plays for the Ironmen. And, of course, Captain Keating plays for the Ironmen at shortstop. And got another double yesterday. So one double closer to setting that record.
So is this the same league that the Fisher Cats play in?
The Fisher Cats are no more. So the Fisher Cats are the Mets now. They kind of went back to the Mets. Originally there was the Mets, but there was too many baseball players, so they ended up with two teams for a while. Okay. They had the Mets and the Fisher Cats, and then the Mets went under, and then we had the Fisher Cats. And for a long time it was just the Fisher Cats. Well, now they've gone back to being the Mets. So, yeah, actually, funny story. The announcer yesterday just struggled his ass off. Oh, next up to bat for the Mets, the Mets. Poor guy. I felt bad for him.
So funny story that'll tie into something I want to talk about.
Go for it.
One of my best friends, and I know I say that often.
So you have a lot of best friends.
I have a lot of best friends. I love people that love me back. Glenn Cormier, his son, I don't know if he plays for the Mets now, but he played for the Fisher Cats, Justin Cormier.
Interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
I believe he may still be a Met.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk some, and I'll look that up.
So on behalf of my buddy Glenn here, he didn't ask me to do this. I volunteered to do this on the podcast. He is part of a hockey tournament starting this weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 4 teams, just a little, friendly competition. 4 teams: the GS Framing, the Dual Citizens, Team Teddy, and Les Acadiens. They will be playing at the JK on Friday. I believe at 6:15 one game, 7:30 the next, and the next day in the 6 p.m. area, 7 p.m. And then on Sunday at 11:15 a.m. and the final game will be at 4 p.m. So nothing to go in, but go support these guys. They're gonna have a fun little tournament, and if I'm not too tired, I'm gonna be at a couple of these games.
Cool. We heading there. I think we went to that last year on Sunday, right?
Yep, it was on a Sunday. We were working a lot less last year,
Yep.
So it'll depend. We are working a lot, and we have one day off, and that's really not enough. But there is a finish line to this line of work.
Cool. So I'll see you there Sunday, is what you're telling me.
See you there Sunday.
All right. All right. Perfect. Sounds fun. Yes. So Justin Cormier is a Met, number 7 for the Mets. That's funny. Small world.
Mm-hmm. I was always supposed to go watch a Fisher Cats game, and mine and Glenn's schedule just never were
lined up.
The same. Lined up. That is the word I was looking for. I'm gonna end up going this summer with you. I know our schedule is gonna be pretty similar. So
yeah, my schedule on the weekend tends to be fairly clear. I went to the game yesterday with Mama Podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah, dragged Mama Podcast out, kicking and screaming.
She's such a trooper.
Yeah, she's the best. She. I was like, hey, what are you up to? And she was free, so we actually went and saw. We mentioned Caleb on the podcast. My cousin, his sister Gracelyn plays softball for the Fredericton Twins U17. Okay. So they had a tournament in Moncton, so we went and caught a game there, and then made our way over to good old Kiwanis Field and watched the Mets game. So it was a fun Sunday. It was a good Sunday.
Man, your family is really sports active, aren't they?
Yeah, and just extremely supportive.
Yeah.
Always try to get out and support my cousins and stuff like that. So, and in turn, they support
Gracelyn play hockey. I was supposed to go with you once, and something happened. I don't remember what. I think there were 2 different games that day, and I think you went to go see Gracelyn, and I did the BSHL game. But from what you're telling me, she's a pretty good hockey player.
Yeah, she's a great athlete, and good family. I love them. They're good people. So I also got to pull out the camera and take some pictures and had some fun. So it was a great Sunday. Maybe I'll do the same next Sunday. Who knows?
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with that. We've got the interview with Connor coming up, and we discussed some things that are coming up next year in the BSHL. Some other stuff that I've discovered since then. Right around the 10th of October, there's a weekend there. Let me pull up the exact date for everybody. So it's the weekend of the 11th, 12th, 13th. That is the tentative start weekend for the BSHL this year. So not too far away. You can start to look forward to that. I mean, really, when you think about it, unfortunately, it means the summer will be done. But it's just part of life.
I can't wait. I didn't think I'd miss it this much.
5 months away. So it'll be here before you know it.
That's still long.
It's a long way. We started this podcast up in mid-July last year, so we're getting close to the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. It's kind of cool. So didn't think that we'd get to where we are right now, but here we are. Anything going on this week, Corey?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
And that's about it. Both working all week, maybe catch a hockey game next Sunday. We've got more interviews scheduled coming up, so stay tuned. We're going to keep those Thursday episodes coming, keep the interviews coming, and the season will be here before we know it. Pretty soon it's going to be player announcements and re-signings and new players. It's going to be some exciting times coming up. But
I really can't wait for those times. That's going to be so exciting.
If you're free this weekend, get over to the JK. Friday night, Saturday night, and then Sunday at 11 and 4 you mentioned.
Yep.
Get out, check out the Mets this weekend. I know they're playing at 4 o'clock again. Chatham doesn't have their first home game until, I want to say, early June. So, we'll keep you up to date with when that home game is. I know Chatham does their home games on, I want to say, Tuesday or Wednesday night at like 8 o'clock. So those are rough for somebody that works in Moncton like myself. Mets are do the 4 o'clock games until, I think, mid-June, late June, and then they change it to 7 p.m. games on Sunday. So a little bit easier for us to get to. But, looking forward to dragging you out to your first senior baseball game, Corey.
I can't wait.
Should be a good time. All right, Absolutely. We're gonna flip to that Connor interview. Hope everybody enjoys it, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Corey.
Good day.
And we have a special guest, the former general manager of the Spring Hill Coal Miners. First time that he's on here as a vice president of the league, Connor Smith. How you doing, bud?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Do I have to call you Mr. Smith now that you're on the board? Or?
You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me Mr.
All right, bitch.
Walked right into that one.
Tell me about your history in hockey, because I think you've done a lot more in hockey than people give you credit for.
It's pretty, let's see here. 2000. So there's a junior B. Well, I guess there was a junior B team in Cumberland County out of Spring Hill that won the Don Johnson Cup. So the year after they won, I went on as the equipment manager / trainer. And then 2 years later, the guy that was doing it left. So it was just me. So I was like, I think I was the trainer of the team when I was 15. I was there for 5 seasons total. Then I scouted for them a bit. Did some scouting for some teams in the GMHL, which would be the Junior A League in Ontario. Scouted there for 2 years. Scouted for the WSHL, and I cannot remember what that stands for. But it was a team in Wyoming that I sent a couple kids to. And then after that season, moved on to help teams. And I think the league was called the CPJHL. The team I worked for was the Bracebridge Bandits, I think, was the name. Anyway, I sent a couple guys there. What?
Where's that?
Ontario.
Okay.
And then after that, I coached Bantam a little bit in Cumberland. And then I stepped away from it for a little bit and then started the senior team. And then last year, so started the senior team in 2022. We joined the league. And then last year, I was with the senior team, but I was also the GM of the junior B team until we folded just from lack of players.
Yeah.
But now here we are.
The Cumberland Blues was the junior team?
Yeah. So it's funny. I went from being a fan of the Cumberland Blues to the equipment manager to the trainer to a scout to a coach and GM.
Quite the journey.
It was, yes. You know what, though? It's sad that it happened that way because we had a really good group. If we could have picked up, like, the way we were trading, oddly enough, Bill Riley, who coached Miramichi last year, was the owner of the team. So we were working for we were doing our thing for teams in the senior league, but we were working together with junior B. And I mean, we made some trades that if we would have kept going and guys would have showed up a little bit more, we had like 12 kids who showed up all the time and were great. Like, we had 2 wins and we had 11 and 13 skaters.
Wow.
And we matched the amount of wins that they had the season before.
You guys folded right around Christmas, bit before Christmas, right?
Yeah, we couldn't ice a team to go to Bridgewater because we had some suspensions. And I mean, we only had 14 guys and then got 2 suspended. So you're down to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been a long season.
You were enjoying it though. Like you told
Oh
me
yeah, I
that you were
really
having
enjoy it.
fun.
Like the thing about that is like, you know, the thing between junior and senior is like the kids from junior are fresh out of minor hockey, so like their parents are used to paying for stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like you got a guy that's in his 30s who hasn't played minor hockey in over a decade and went and played junior A or in the Q where everything was paid for. It's a little bit easier to like get guys to show up in junior without having to offer some kind of like I don't know, incentive.
That's fair.
Like in junior, you don't even have to pay gas because like they're used to driving to their own games.
Well, you talked to us about an interest in being in the league board. Shortly after we met, we kind of had a chat about it. I personally didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. I don't know if you thought it was going to happen this quickly, but what piqued your interest with being on the board?
Well, Roger and I became pretty good friends really quickly.
Yeah.
Just because like any question I'd have, I'd call him to make sure we were doing everything right and that things were going the way they were. So it just figured it was better to do the right thing than make sure I was going by the rules. And by doing that, I got to know a lot about the league. So I've always kind of been interested in like leagues, but the problem with that is in most places, you only get into them if you know somebody or if you're affiliated with someone, which I guess realistically I did because I was affiliated with a team. But I mean, if you would have told me 2 years ago when we started the team that I'd like in year 3 I'd be leaving the team to be a vice president, I would have called you foolish. But I don't know, it just kind of elevated. Like last year, I was getting kind of like I was getting burnt out.
Yep.
Like we just didn't have we had great volunteers, but I mean, when you only have 5 or 6 and they do what they do great, why would you want to move them? And my mindset was, well, I know how to do everything that I'm doing anyway, so I might as well just do it myself. And that came back to bite me. Like I got burnt out, and then I think our last 2 road trips, I didn't even go on the road. I just sit at home. Well, it's easy against Mirror Machine. You just watch the stream.
Yeah, your
Shout out
fatigue
to
level.
Roxanne for being the reason that I was like, oh, I don't want to go on the road.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, there's just a vision for the league now, and I mean, I always had that. Like, I get along with everybody, so it's Rogers. This is the last year. There's got to be somebody to take over next year, whether it's me, Peter, or somebody new. But I mean, I would say right now, Peter and I are the front runners for president next year because we're the vice presidents. So Peter wants to run, all the power to him. And if he doesn't, and then if nobody else does, I guess I'll have to.
I think either choices would be good.
You've got a different viewpoint, which is interesting from coming from the scouting side and from a bunch of stuff. Peter, mind you, has done everything for minor hockey. I didn't know Peter very well, but you very quickly get to know how well liked Peter is in the River Valley area. So both very good options for the league.
The thing that helps Peter and I mean, Roger is the same way. He used to help with the team, but I mean, this would be Roger's, I think he said his 15th season. And like coming from like the NESHL and whatever it was before then. But the thing about Peter and I is just recently we've been part of teams. Like Peter was with River Valley in 2022. He was on the group of people that brought the team to River Valley. So, I mean, you got 2 people from the expansion teams. Really opens the eyes because we know how hard it is just from expanding right through. Not to say that the other teams don't know how hard it is. I just mean the extra step of having to expand and start from scratch. We've both done it.
Yeah.
So if a team comes on looking for expansion, we know what they have to do. It's not as simple as saying, "Oh, well, no, you need to do this, 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 and this." Like we know because we've had to do it.
What are your roles and responsibilities going to be with the league?
That's a great question. Nobody seems to know. Not so much that we have roles. It's just kind of like I already said I'm good with helping with everything. So if you get something, call me. Like I started the Facebook page, which people like already.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice to get a major sponsor. I got to start looking into that. It would be nice to have a sponsor of the league.
Go follow the Bouctouche Senior Hockey League on Facebook. You can get to it through our our page. Looking forward to working with you and growing this league. I think it was long overdue for the league to have a Facebook page, and it just took somebody to start it, honestly. And I'm glad you did, man. It's fantastic.
It's got like, well, I'll check and see how many likes it has right now. It had like 160 like the first day.
Yeah,
and you shared it, and it 160 followers, and it's less than a week old. So that's pretty nice. And we get interactions already.
I think I only got to about 80 in my first month and a half. So you're doing fine.
Yeah, I'm piggybacking off of you. We're good.
Yeah, we'll share that again here in a couple days.
There's so many things that you can talk about. Like the first two posts were just congratulating Dalhousie and then the awards. Because if you don't go on our website, you wouldn't know who won the awards. Because some of the guys, by the time the awards came in, some of the guys were out of the playoffs. But that's hard. Like, how do you? It's voted on by the teams, so you can't. Well, I mean, some of the MVPs are just easy because, it's whoever was the most valuable player with the most points. But the other awards, like, it's tough because they vote on them, and then if you get swept in 4, by the time the awards are ordered with your name on them, they're probably not coming in.
How do you plan to fix that problem?
Well, I mean, it's really up to the players. If the players don't really care, then whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have always just waited and gave them the award at their first game of the season.
It's an option. I think there is a level of pride, though. Like the players do. I mean, they've come on and talked to me about it, so they do appreciate getting those awards. It means something to them, and they're really, really nice awards this year. So,
yeah, it's just. I guess that's one of those things, like, you can't really order what's going to be on it until the votes are in. And then if you get swept in 2 weeks and the order takes a month,
Yeah, it's a difficult thing.
You could plan an awards dinner, but who's to say that the guys that didn't get the awards are going to show up? With, like, planning anything, they could have a wedding to go to. It could be somebody's birthday. They could have had plans. Could be going on vacation. Like...
It's a big league. I mean, it's really spread out. So where do you host that and have it central for people? That's one thing that's, when you look at the Bouctouche League, it's spread out, man. Dalhousie to Spring Hill is it's a journey. So,
trust me, I know. If you've watched the second latest episode of Get Bucked, you'll see just how far of a drive it is.
Have you been watching Get Bucked?
No.
He's like, no, but I hear about it.
Yeah, I see it on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, some guy shares it. Dave something.
That guy.
Good old voice. Let's talk a bit about the AGM. That went down a little over a week ago now. I'm kind of excited about. It was a week ago.
Yeah.
So it was a week ago from when we recorded this. It'll be a few weeks when we put this up.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about the AGM. The rule that I'm really excited about that changed was the 5 Junior A players. So if you played Junior A or less outside of your zone, you can pick up 5 players.
Okay, so it is Junior A or less, but the teams voted to add a rule that you could play 5 games or less in the queue. Okay. Just that way, if there is a player that say for 4 years played a game for a team, they could play in the league.
I didn't know about that little tweak. How do you feel about this rule?
I like it. I mean, I can understand there are fans who want it to be local, and I get that. But I mean, just because you want it to be local, your team also does you want your team to be able to win games. And I'm not saying that they can't on local talent. I'm just saying what people need to realize is most teams in our league, the local core, and not all of them, but most of them, like you look at Elsie and Bouctouche and Miramichi, and I don't know much about Trackey and Shippigan, just because their zones were kind of amalgamated in from the other league that they were in. Mm-hmm. But like outside of Spring Hill, the cores are older players. Those guys aren't going to be around forever. Like, the guys, especially in Elsie, like Trey and Mackenzie and Robbie and all those guys, they come from that same core. Sawyer, they're not going to be around forever. Like, like let's say they have 5 years left. Well, what do you do in 5 years? You don't wait 5 years to fix the problem. You incorporate those players now so they feel like locals, in my opinion, by the time those guys are gone. You want them to feel like part of the team and like they are from the community. And I mean, we talked about this the other day. Prime example, Scotty Sack. So he played 6 months of the hockey in Kent Center, right? And then he moved to Nova Scotia, I think. I could be wrong. But I use him as an example because he only ever played as high as junior A, right?
Yeah.
So if Scotty hadn't have started his minor hockey there, he would have counted as an import last year. Now, he's kind of a good example and a bad example because he is a local player because of the minor hockey.
Yeah.
But take the minor hockey away, he wouldn't have been able to play in the league until last year.
Yeah.
And then if they didn't take him as an import last year, hypothetically, he would have only been able to play in the league this year because it's somebody from outside of your territory. So you think of a guy like that who is like, in my opinion, when I think of the Hawks, Scotty's one of the first players I think of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, by the league rules, he would have, if they didn't take him as an import, he would have never been able to play in the league if it hadn't been for the minor hockey.
And also, when you're talking about 2 import players plus 5 junior A guys, you have 13 other slots every night that need to be filled by somebody. So you're still going to see lots of local talent.
You have a 25-man roster. That's 18 of your players that have to be from your local.
Yeah.
And I mean, what counts as local, right? Like the other junior A thing. Like all these guys went and played somewhere, right? Like let's keep using Elsie as an example because I can think of their players. Like Robbie played in Dieppe, and then he played in the Q. Trey played in the Q, then he ended up in Miramichi. So let's say they're top 5 players. They all played on different teams at some point. Like Sawyer and Trey played together in Halifax, but then they went somewhere else. Let's say they met when Sawyer got traded to Quebec. Let's say he met a guy who played less than 5 games in the Q, and they became really good friends. He can now come play for Elsie. Like you could bring guys in your locker room that you've known your whole life. They just haven't been able to play with you, and they could know 4 or 5 guys. Because we all know most of the guys that know each other play on teams and tournaments together.
Oh, yeah.
Or, go away or I don't know, HOA is a big thing here. They could have went away to HOA together, and it's like, oh, I know this guy. He played junior A or less. Let's bring him in. He'll be good for our team.
100%. I think it's good. Anything that adds a little bit more competition to the league is going to be a good thing at the end of the day. We saw the skill jump up pretty dramatically from 2 years ago to last year, in my opinion. Right. It was just a very skilled league. And my question to you is that where you see this continuing to trend?
I think it does if the teams use the same kind of caution they did to get their imports. They're like, in my mind last year, there weren't very many imports that really stood out. Like they did, but not consistently all season. Like they were either standing out at the beginning, the middle, or the end. And it kind of gave enough time for all of the imports to shine, in my opinion. Like Peter Traynor was good all season, but he really had a really good year by the end of the year. Yeah. Valcourt, was Valcourt the import?
He was.
Okay. See, I thought he was from there.
That's a question. I think he's from, God, I can't think of the community, but just outside of their zone.
Okay.
I think is where he played his minor hockey, but it's ridiculously close.
Right. Yeah. They kind of lose out because of the team at Kedgwick.
Exactly.
Because there's so much close to it. But okay, yeah, I mean, he definitely stuck out. Mind you, he had a lot of players to play with, and they just made each other better. Like, you either stood out or you came in and elevated your team. And Dalhousie's a great example because the year before, they finished last in the league, I think. And then last year, they barely lost a game.
Yeah.
And but they only added all a couple those guys pieces together. Like, I think their import goalie is the same case. Like, he had grown up. He had family from there, but played his minor hockey in Dieppe, I think.
Yeah, I think something like that, Savoie. Yeah, there's a few other good examples. Like, and a lot of the teams did a really good job picking up imports that made an impact. Like, you look at Jason Ryu. or Vautour. Like, a lot of these teams picked up some phenomenal imports. So I'm excited to see the league continue to trend towards a more skilled league.
Right.
I get that for some people, senior hockey is changing. Hockey in general is changing.
I think a point I'd like to make, 2 points here. Point I'd like to make on the thing about the imports. They all did shine, but they didn't overachieve. Like, they didn't come in and make the league all about imports. They helped the league grow. It didn't become the import show, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then on the junior A or less rule, you think about this. Valcourt and Savoie, technically, if they play junior A or less, they're from outside the zone, they could end up on those cards this year.
You're not wrong. Unfortunately, Valcourt played a little bit of a higher level, so
but you think of a player
right.
from the same community as Valcourt who would have played junior A or less, who now they can go out and get 5 of those guys if they want to, because you're allowed to go outside your territory.
Tyler Brown for the Hawks would be a good example for that. I think he played junior A, so
I think of Spring Hill too. Like, Truro is only about an hour from Halifax, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, Halifax is close. It's a little bit further, but Spring Hill is really in a spot where if they want to, they can pull imports from PEI, Halifax, and Moncton because they're in the middle of everything. It's the same thing with Bouctouche. Like, Bouctouche could pull guys from Moncton that they couldn't go out and get before that. I'm sure are great friends with the guys that play there.
I'm going to be interested to see teams start to make announcements, which we know is going to start in the next few weeks or months.
Right.
Month and a half. By July, we'll start to see them start to roll in. So some exciting times coming up for fans. One rule that didn't change, though, was that import rule.
Right.
I know there was talk about grandfathering imports, which thankfully didn't happen. It's the same.
If they hadn't went with the 5 junior A or less, I would have been okay if the teams were okay with it to have let's say everybody have their goalie import honored and then be allowed to go out and get another positional player. Because some teams do need another forward or another defenseman. Yeah. But I didn't even think about the junior A or less thing until it got brought up. I thought, wow, that's a good idea. I mean, it doesn't help some teams. Like a team like River Valley, who already had 5 junior A or less players, it doesn't really help. But, I mean, they're strong enough, I think, on their own that it doesn't really matter. Because there are guys in their territory who just don't play there because they don't have the room for it.
Yeah.
I think of a guy like Nick Terrio or Sam Campbell that plays for, they both play in the Southern League.
Yeah.
Sam Campbell would be great for our league, but he plays in Tri-County.
100%. I think and the way that River Valley's grown year after year, you got to think they're going to be an interesting team next year. They're building something special.
Well, and I mean, there's always guys that don't come back, right? And there's always new guys that want to play. So, I mean, it's easy. It's interesting. Because, I mean, I think this rule is especially great for Shippigan and Tracadie. Because we all know, like, Shippigan and Tracadie have not issues every year, but sometimes it's hard for them to get guys because the season starts at the end of fishing season, and like they have a lot of guys doing a lot of different things, and they have a lot of guys who travel because they're from there but they don't live there.
Yeah.
So I mean, even in the playoffs, geez, I think when we went to that game, Shippigan versus Tracadie only had probably 14 skaters.
Yeah.
In a playoff, LC finished with 10.
That was a rough game for LC. Tracadie and Shippigan are really a team that I think about when I see that junior. Like, they're going to be able to really capitalize on that. They've got, not that they have a thin roster, but they have a very dedicated roster. It's very frequently the same roster, but they're getting older. So,
well, and I like the way that those teams do it. It's pretty much like you're either in or you're out. You're either playing for the full year or you're not playing at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the way it is, but if you go look at like who plays all season and who plays in the playoffs, it's the 25 guys with the most games played.
100%. So we're going to move on and talk about live streaming now. It's been a little bit of a hot button topic. I like the live streams. What do you think with live streaming? Does it add something to the league? Does it take away? What are your hopes for this year?
I think it definitely adds. I'd like to see it more, but it's tough to have you guys in more than one place at a time. I'm hoping that when the schedule comes out, because I don't know this year what teams are playing which nights, because we won't know until we know when we're starting and when we're ending. And the teams have to get their dates. So if it happens that like there's a game on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it would be great to have, at least 1 or 2 or 3 games. But I mean, we can also work together with this where we really push it and maybe like we pick a game of the week and then highlight it on like the league Facebook page and, catch the unofficial BSHL podcast when they stream the BSHL game of the week.
Trust me, we've thought about it, we've talked about it, and I think that might be a good way to capitalize on something.
It definitely helps having Roxanne.
Oh my God.
Because it's like if there's a game on Friday and there's no, you can't get to Miramichi, she's there.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to just stay at your apartment,
it's grown the league. Like I said this at the AGM because they asked about live streaming, and I said, well, in my opinion, and it could be different, and everybody's opinions could be different. In my opinion, for Spring Hill, last year, it made our crowds more consistent. We went from going 250 to 600 to having 350 to 450 fans a week.
Yeah.
And, I mean, man, there are some games we'd have players from Bouctouche watching our games in the rink just because, there's a game.
100%. There's something you said about having your road game streamed, and it just gets your fans a little bit more engaged. So we're going to be back. We're going to be live streaming. We don't know what the schedule is going to be yet, but so is it going to be starting in October, finishing in late January again, like last year?
So as far as I know, we're starting the weekend of October 11th.
Okay, slightly earlier than this past year.
To give it another week, yeah. And then
Corey, you got to plan your time off.
Now this could change.
Will do.
This could change because we do have another meeting in August, like we do every year, to go over everything and make sure that because the Hockey New Brunswick Senior Council meeting isn't until June.
Yeah.
So there could be rule changes and things that we don't know about until June. So when August comes, that's when anything will be solidified. But as far as right now, the opening round of the playoffs will be best of 5. Second and third will be best of 7. Kind of wanted to circumvent the way that River Valley played more games in the playoffs than they did in the regular season last year. At least we could get it even because, like, if this goes full distance, they're only playing 1 more game, not 3. 18 seems to be the golden number for us.
Yep, I agree. So 18 games. Hopefully we'll see the playoffs finish slightly earlier so that we're not finishing on the day before the ice is removed from any rinks.
Right. Well, I mean, I kind of not blame the rinks, but, like, come on. You had the plant on all year. How hard can it actually be to go an extra week? 100%. In Spring Hill, I was told if they really wanted to, they could have, they went till April 9th. They could have kept going. It's not the problem that they can't keep the ice in, I don't think, in some arenas. It's the fact that nobody rents it out. So there's no sense in keeping it in.
I think Bouctouche still has ice in. I think they take theirs out in about a week, which is great. Bouctouche used to be an arena that would take it out in early April, sometimes late March. But senior hockey definitely was one of the driving forces that helped them stay open a little bit later. The Hawks didn't make it as far this year, but still, we have a really good minor hockey system here, and a couple of hockey schools use our rink, so that helps. I think Danny Crate's actually there this week, starting tomorrow with his school. So, it's good for a small area like this to have the rink in that late too, because there's not a ton to do. So, being able to get the kids off the street and go to some public skating or have some extra spring hockey, it helps. Let's talk about the future of the league. Where do you see it growing in the coming years? What's the vision? What's the dream for the BSHL?
It would be nice. It's already starting. I mean, we already have players who are
100%.
They're already not going away to play. Like, I think of players like Jeremiah Martin, Josh Russell, guys who could have went somewhere else last year, Alex Arsenault, who decided to play senior. They didn't go anywhere else. Where senior used to be that thing where it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of goons, and then you'd have players, and then, like, man, we had almost, I think, 10 affiliates in the league last year. You've got guys that are in U18 and junior who want to play because the league's competitive. And I mean, you look at a guy like Alex Arsenault. Well, I mean, even all three, him, Russell, and Jeremiah, those are the three I think of right off the bat. They stepped right in. And it could have been slow from the get-go, but I mean, the league really transformed. I noticed the other day when I was looking through stats, and a lot of people the first year when he played in Miramichi thought that Kennedy Gallant was just there to cause issues. He led their team in scoring last year. So, like, that just shows me how much the league changed from 2022 to 2023. I think I like the whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, I mean, I don't think we need to elevate anything. We need to let the teams decide what they want to do until we get into positions where it's like, okay, we have these options. But if the teams don't want to add new rules and they want to keep rolling with what we're rolling with, why would we interfere and say, oh, no, we think this is a better idea? I'd rather have 8 of the strongest teams than have 8 teams where 5 of them are strong and 3 of them aren't. I want it to be like it was last year, even more elevated, where, like, I'd like to see every team fighting for playoff positions in their last games. 1 through 8. Like, it would be nice if, you didn't know who finished where until the end. Like, last year was exciting.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't know where you were going to finish.
Except for the one team in the top. Everything else was a jumble. Shippigan could have finished last, didn't. Right. Yeah, I agree. I think it made for a very exciting end to the season. We need to focus on those positives, focus on that growth in the league, because a lot of people start to really get frustrated or get down with things. And the reality is, this is probably the best shape the senior hockey league's been in years, maybe decades.
And then the other thing too, I mean, there's different types of people. Like, people think, oh, when you finish junior or you finish the Q, you're going to go play university. Not everybody there's a lot of tradespeople, especially in the areas our league's in. There's a lot of people who take trades. There's a lot of people who don't want to go away to university. Our league schedule is, if you were at UNB, you could probably play in our league because there's a team in Miramichi, River Valley. I just think of Spring Hill. If there's a kid from Cumberland County who went to UNB after junior A,
yep,
they could hypothetically still play because their farthest games would be at home and they're 2 hours away.
It's true.
But the league, there's guys who don't want to go somewhere else and they want to play hockey somewhere. And let's say they don't want to go away from home. Well, I want them to know that this league is somewhere that, they're welcome to come play because the caliber is good. Sure, yes. Is there fighting? Yes. But predominantly the guys who fight know who to fight. Our league's not notorious for guys getting jumped because of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there were a couple of hits on some younger guys last year, but if you go watch the full game, I mean, they weren't innocent.
No, 100%. It's definitely a league that's growing. The caliber is growing. We're seeing some guys come back from Europe and possibly back into senior hockey this year, which I think is it's great. It's also interesting that guys can go from senior to going and playing in Europe and then coming back to senior. Really says something with the caliber of hockey that we're seeing in our own backyards.
Well, and I think the thing that's going to strengthen us too, the LNAH now, you can't play in both leagues till January 10th. You've got to know by September 30th where you're playing for the year because the LNAH is now outlaw. So, if you want to play in our league right now, there's guys who would play both that are pretty high caliber or at least add some toughness. I think of a guy like Chad Denny, Denick Cret. Those are guys that played in the LNAH. And now they're in our league to stay, it seems, for him. Yeah, which is great. 100%. Like, the size, Chad's one of those players that you look at him and, yeah, you could tell he'd be an intimidating player to play against. And he just adds, like, when I think of Dalhousie, he's one of the first guys I think of. because there's guys like that on every team, but they add something that they didn't have. He adds a certain kind of play that they didn't really have before.
A nice veteran leadership too, and some stability back there on
the leadership, the stability, the different play styles. And I think some people don't understand that. Like, not all your players can play the same way.
Yeah.
You need guys who will play their roles. And with these new rules and moving on, it's only going to help strengthen for teams like, I don't know, you could say one team doesn't have the best penalty killers. Well, they could know that, and now they have 2 junior A or less guys that they could bring, 1 or 2 guys they could bring in who are going to help with that.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see what teams do. I mean, realistically, you could technically bring in 2 goalies, junior A or less right now, and have your whole lineup just be, you know what I mean?
Yep. There's a lot of options. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they start to roll out.
You could go grab 5 defensemen. You could go grab 5 forwards. And it's interesting because we didn't put any stipulation on it. Like, there are teams that could use another goalie. There are teams that could use more defensemen, could use a little bit of everything, could use 5 forwards. Not that LC could use 5 forwards, but when I think of LC, I'm kind of like, oh, no, they're good on defense.
Yeah, I don't know where else we would use 5 more junior A, but the option's there, and it's good that it's an option. There was definitely some, again, you mentioned that last game with 12 skaters, maybe solidify a little bit or add a little bit of quality depth. Doesn't hurt anything. Something that was brought to my attention by some fans, River Valley fans, who I saw at some Junior C games at the Junior C tournament in Miramichi a few weeks ago. A lot of people want to see a senior hockey championship in New Brunswick. It's needed. It's wanted. Does the BSHL have any interest in that?
So I know last year that the whole Maritime thing started out as a New Brunswick championship. Yep. The other 2 leagues didn't want to play in. Like the league up in the West and the Southern League, they didn't want to play in the tournament. So it went to a different thing where it was like Maritime. But then, Spring Hill, for instance, had almost 2 months off. River Valley had played 41 games, or 18 and 21, 39 games. The team from PEI wanted to come, but then they were like, it was just kind of like, the team that was off 2 months that would have represented Nova Scotia. The team that would have represented the league had just played 40 games. That's a lot. Like, people, I get it that they want to, they want to see this, but it would have to really work. Like these junior championships, the junior championships, remember, the players are used to it because from minor hockey right through, like until junior, they're playing most teams. If you're playing in junior, you are playing in provincial championships. So you're used to playing 50 games, but you're also not 35 years old. You're 16.
Yep.
You're 17, you're 18, you're 20. Right? Like with that Junior C tournament, for instance.
Yep.
Great tournament. It was in Spring Hill a couple years ago when Nunavut was still part of it. The oldest players you have, if you have 4 teams, they're 16, 21-year-olds. Those are the oldest players. So on average, they're probably 10 years less. They're probably 10 years younger than the average player in our league.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to say, but these guys have families. I'm sure they have vacations. I'm sure not all of them. I'm sure some of them would play hockey all year long. But,
for sure,
you play these tournaments, you're going to have to take days off work. If you get hurt, you're going to have to take time off work. It's a great idea, but these are all things that came up when it got brought up. Like teams or players themselves or teams would bring stuff up or you'd hear talks about it. And these are all things that were discussed. Like, it's not as easy. Could you do it on a long weekend and have the finals on a Monday? Probably. That might not be a bad idea. But then do the teams want to pay to put the team up for the weekend? You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing. You're not making any money. The only team making any money is the host team. So is it worth paying $2,000, $2,500 for your team to go there for the weekend? And that's up to you, but we all know that all the teams want to make as much money in the playoffs to rebound from the season.
100%. So what you're telling me is there's interest, but logistically it's difficult.
I wouldn't say, I'm sure it could work, but it would have to be the 4 teams that really want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all these teams, tournaments like the Don Johnson and Junior B, that tournament's been around for almost 50 years. The Junior C tournament's been around it'll be 25 next year, I believe. So, I mean, these are pre-existing tournaments. The teams didn't just come into the league and say, oh, well, we'd like to have it. It sounds great. No, logistically, they work because there's been plans in place for a minimum of 25 years. I'd like to see, because we all know every team wants exhibition games, I'd like to see an exhibition tournament where there's teams from other leagues. Have a team from PEI. If they started a league in Nova Scotia, have a team from Nova Scotia. Have a team from the other leagues. It would be great, I think. Or I just think of stuff like where you're not getting outside of the season. What about a holiday tournament? Everybody likes to watch the World Juniors and stuff, but what about like a 4-team holiday tournament where most people have the time off? Just something like that. I think of like not so much after the season, but like during when they would be expecting to play hockey.
Interesting idea. I like the thought of more senior hockey because I have an odd addiction and I enjoy senior hockey. But it was something that came up, and I know that it almost happened this year. Hopefully we'll see it someday, but I understand the concerns as well.
Could it work? Yes. Would it have to be absolutely in a perfect world? No, but there'd have to be I feel like there'd have to be a lot of money dished out.
Yeah.
Like the host team would have to have almost $5,000. Almost $50,000 for the other teams.
There'd have to be some good sponsors, is what you're telling me.
Right, and I know that's how the other tournaments work, but I mean, in junior too, those teams also aren't giving their players incentives.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to. I'm sure there might be teams that do, but even think of gas money. Let's say you got 25 players, 20 players, and let's say you have 2 in a car because you have hockey equipment, especially with goalies. Let's say 10 cars with the price of gas right now, and then if you travel back and forth or whatever, you know what I mean?
You're talking about at least $1,000 per team, a couple $1,000 in gas.
So there's five. Yeah, exactly. Plus they got to eat, so there's $5,000 there already. If you decided not to stay and travel back and forth.
Which only works if everybody's fairly close together, because if not, that's tough.
Right.
Interesting conversation. I definitely appreciate your view on it. And, it's going to be a conversation that comes up with a lot of fans this offseason. The next thing I want to talk about is expansion. It comes up every year. Strong rumors every year of different teams, some expansions. Do you think we ever see the BSHL grow past 8? Because there's something to be said about the stability of all the franchises in our league right now.
Do you? Yes, but only if all 8 teams want it. It's got to be all 8 teams wanting it, because you got to think. You go look at territories, right? We'll start with Spring Hill. Spring Hill has from Sackville to Truro, right? Which sounds like a lot, but there's really not a lot of players there knowing firsthand. Then you look at Bouctouche and Elsie. They share a zone that, in my opinion, should be 1, but there were 2 teams there.
Yeah.
And you can't have a team like Elsie really expand their zone right now north, because Miramichi's right there. And then on the other side of Miramichi, you've got River Valley. And then just up from them, you've got 2 teams that are pretty much not fight over the territory, but at one time they did.
Yep.
Because they had I don't know how they ever had a whole league with that territory. It boggles my mind. Maybe because they were all 25 back then. I don't know. Now they're 30 and not everybody wants to play anymore. But I mean, things change from year to year. So 5 years is a big difference. And then you look like Dalhousie's pretty much capped, because there's Dalhousie could go a little bit further, but you're just fighting with Kedgewick.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure already happens anyway. So realistically, if we want to keep our territories within our own league so other leagues don't come into ours, the only spot that's really open is Sussex and Petitcodiac. So the Greater Moncton area and the Sussex region. Well, if you give a team the Greater Moncton area, or even part of it, you're opening a can of worms right there because of the caliber.
Yeah.
The zones outside of those areas right now, nobody has Halifax, nobody has Moncton, nobody has PEI because of the quality of players. The minute you say, oh, you can have players from here, you know what's going to happen. There's former NHLers from every part of those territories. Would they play in the league? Hard to say. But if we keep evolving the way we are, then of course they will.
Yeah.
There's only 2 territories I know of right now that could have guys, former NHLers, play in the league. And it'd be Miramichi and Bouctouche. That I can think of. And I mean, those 2 would elevate the league 100%. I'm not going to drop names because I'm just saying. You do your little research. It's not hard to tell who they are. But would they help the league? Yes. But then you'd have to go let all other 6 teams have a former NHL player to even it out, right? Yeah. That's why the imports are ECHL or less. Because
can they have played as
much?
Valley. Can they have played endless amounts of ECHL, or is there a cap on how many games they played?
There's no cap. They can play ECHL as much as they want. I mean, this happened in River Valley before Kenny took over. You know, they had guys show up that had played 5-6 seasons in the AHL, and Spring Hill was the team that they played. And if you go back and look at the score, it wasn't actually 1-0 for Spring Hill, but because of the rule and because it broke the rules, they got switched and overturned. But I mean, I think by the end of the game, it was 17-1.
Yeah.
So that just shows you like 2 or 3 American Hockey League former guys on the team can do. I'd hate to see, go outside of the territories we have right now. I'm not against obviously strengthening them, and I think rules like the 2 imports and the 5 junior A or less does strengthen. I wouldn't be against them honoring some of the junior A or less guys every year. Let's say you have 5, and you honor, say, 1 next season. Then from that group, the next season, you honor 2. You're not honoring 5 at the same time. They still have to work on those players to come back. Like, let's say next year they're allowed to honor 1, the year after 2, the year after that 3. You still wouldn't have 5 new players on the team. Well, you would. You'd end up with 6 by year 3. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it would give that identity of that player being local because they'd be allowed to come back to the team year after year after year.
Yeah, you get into some gray zones at some point. But, I mean, I think, you look at someone like Danik Crane, not originally from Rishabukta, pretty far from Rishabukta, to be honest with you, but viewed as a local now. And very well liked. I mean, you go around, there's as many Crate hoodies as there are Lewis hoodies. People love Danik. And again, not a local, but because he's played here enough, he feels like a local. I think we maybe see that someday with those junior A guys. Corey, what's your opinion on the junior A or less rule?
I like it. I really do. You talked about Danik Crate. Before we did this podcast, it said it a million times, we were Hawks fans. Danik Crate was one of my favorites. The fact that he's from Quebec didn't bother me one bit. And to have more talent in this league, to me, it's a plus. So 0 problems with it. Love it.
So now, moving into this season, what are your thoughts? Tell me how you're feeling. How's it feel to be on the board? Like, how different do you feel right now than you did a year ago?
I don't feel entirely different, other than the fact that, it surprised me that I got in unanimously. It seems like teams. It's weird, man. It's one of those things that, you're kind of like. I was nervous. I was really nervous, and the worst part about it was I sat through the whole meeting. Because it wasn't until the end that they did the VP. And last year, it was the first thing they did. So like I sat there the whole time and I'm thinking to myself, geez, this is really gonna suck if I sat here the whole time and I don't get voted in. But it was even worse because I went with Roger. So, but I mean, it definitely works. Like I'm more excited just to see what happens and to really see, because I mean, as a vice president, the next step would naturally be president, right? And Rogers said like he is done after this season. This is his last year. He wants one last year, and then he's done. But I mean, I could go through the year and not want it, right? But if we go to the meeting next year and there's nobody that wants it, and Peter doesn't want it, then I'm gonna have to take it because I wouldn't leave the league without a president. That's just who I am. So it's interesting. It's definitely going to be a learning experience. It's nice to be able to be neutral now. It's nice to be able to go to a rink and just like, not that, I mean, geez, the rinks are great. It's just nice to be able to go to watch a game and not have any affiliation at all. Other than the fact that like these are teams that play in our league.
Being neutral's overrated, man. I'm going to tell you. Whew, something about wanting to see a team win really badly. I'm not going to say I miss it, but
see, I've never been like that with anything. I've never been like a big enough fan to be like, oh, about anything, like at all. Even when I was a kid watching teams, like obviously when you're affiliated with teams, you want them to win. But when you're affiliated with them as a staff, you can't really go over the top and be like, I really want the team to win. Like you have to be, you kind of have to be neutral in that sense because you don't want to be seen as a homer either. So, I don't think I've ever really been an overly big fan who like cheered. I'm a more like conservative, like quiet fan. If you talk to me about my favorite team, I'll talk about it. But other than that, whatever.
Not even for North Pro? Not even for wrestling? Come on now.
No. Not even for like there'd be times with the coal miners where it'd be like, oh yeah, like we didn't deserve to win that game.
You said that.
And if you were a really big fanatic, you'd be like, oh, no matter what, we deserve to win the game because we're the best team ever. Like there are fans like that. I'm not one of them. So it's easy for me to be neutral. I can put anything aside, like anything that happened in the last 2 years between me and anybody else. Like I can set that aside. It is what it is. It's for the better of the league. And I get that not everybody's like that. There are people who can't even talk to somebody that they had a disagreement with. So I'm really interested in the future to see how the team strengthen, what they add. My only thing is the team's got to get better at their social media presence.
Yes, please.
Big time.
Yeah, I agree. We saw some improvement over the course of last year, though.
Like you go look at a junior A team's social media. Like, you're not guessing who's playing that day. There's a lineup on. At least put your lineups up on who's playing that day so people know. Because not every team has programs.
No.
And it's
boy, that would help us a lot.
Yeah, exactly, man. Right?
I would have to mute during the stream and go to Corey. Which number was that?
Yeah, I think and it's just such a great way to get some free marketing. And fans love to share that stuff. So hopefully we'll see a change in that regard. We tried to be a positive change in that regard last season. Now we're going to have some help from the league with you running it. So that should be, I think that's a big step in the right direction, just that. Having that.
This helps too because I'm not going to be busy on the weekends. And I mean, I've told you guys already, if you're going to a game and you need help, like, if your mom or your sister can't make it or Corey can't make it, I'm more than game as long as I know at least the day before. Or I'm not doing something the day you're like, hey, man, it's just me. I could use some help. I don't give a shit. I mean, we went to Chippegan last year?
We had a great time in Chippegan.
We did, yes.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, I think the podcast crew is going to grow a little bit. There's a lot of interest for me to bring in friend of the podcast, Ricky Bastarash, to start helping with some of the streams and stuff because he's just got such a good eye for hockey. So I think he's going to be helping us out a bit with the podcast. But we'll just continue to grow on our end. You guys continue to grow on your end, and I don't know, let's make this league blow up a little more.
Yeah, one thing I would really like to see is a stream of both games when Bouctouche and LC both play on Sunday.
That LC is a hard rink to stream in.
It really is.
Bouctouche, I can tell you right now, if we're in Bouctouche at a game, we're probably going to stream the game.
It's
even
easy.
If we've already streamed something the day before, we're probably just going to stream it because it's the easiest rink in the world to stream at.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see that in other rinks in the future. Just the giving us access to Wi-Fi or having a better spot where we can stream. The best rinks, in my opinion, are Shippian and Bouctouche. And Spring Hill. Spring Hill's got a really good one.
Is LC difficult to stream in because you don't have the Wi-Fi, or because it's just hard, like, logistically?
Both.
Yeah.
We don't have the Wi-Fi. The 5G, for whatever reason, sometimes it gets a little clogged down when there's a lot of people around.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, the way that it's set up, hopefully Foster streams some from there again next year because he has a pretty decent setup, but you almost have to have a couple cameras. It's just an odd. I love the rink, but it's a weird rink. Yeah, one of my favorite rinks to go see.
It is weird how it's set up.
Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else with the league you want to plug before we finish this up?
I don't know. I want to say thanks to you guys, though, because, I mean, the league grew. You guys don't give yourself enough credit. Like, the league grew a lot because you guys were there. You were talking about it. Even now, like, we're not even in the season and you're having interviews with people. You know, so hats off to you guys. With the teams, just hope the teams continue to strengthen themselves, work hard, and have, like, a really good league this year. I mean, we had a good league last year, but, I mean, there's a lot of room right now. Every team's got 7 cards, pretty much, that they can elevate their roster with. Elevate it as much as possible,
100%. We agree with that statement. A better league, just better for all of us. Can't wait to get out there in October. Hopefully we'll get to an exhibition game before the regular season starts. I'd love to see a couple exhibition games with some of the other leagues. That'll be great.
Yeah.
See what happens.
For sure.
You'll, there's somewhere you can go check that out. As soon as we hear more, check out the official Beausejour Senior Hockey League Facebook page on Facebook, and hopefully they'll have updates.
Right, exactly.
We have to work on your canvas.
I'll try my best.
We'll work on your canvas skills too, though. It's,
Yeah.
Come on, man. He's like, you dick. All right. Thanks for being here, Corey. Appreciate you. Thanks, Connor. You're a good bud. And we'll have you back on soon. Talk soon.
That's good. Thanks, guys.
Take care.